All right, ladies and gentlemen, the time is 1:30. Let's go ahead and get started with my hero because I am anxious to find out what happened after the last one. Yo, peoples! Kyushu92 here, and welcome back to yet another My Hero Academia chapter reaction and review. Last we left off, we saw All For One growing up, getting older, starting cults, and yet wondering why his brother decided to leave him. He killed his own brother because he had this mentality of, if I can't have you, no one can. And then he started to go after every user of One For All because they opposed him. But he was always wondering, why are all of these people standing in my way? But why can't I get my brother back? He's like thinking about how his brother had this miserable looking quirk. So I'll just give him one, not knowing that he already had one in him. And he's trying to take back what he thinks belonged to him, which is One For All. He thinks One For All belongs to him because it was made up with a quirk he gave his brother. So he's always been trying to gain back that quirk and in process his brother as well. And it gets to a head where we get back to the present day. Well, it actually gets to a head when All Might, during their last Titanic battle, All Might completely blasts his entire upper head just clean off. So when you see him later in life and he has like this big scarring up here on the top of his head, that's because All Might just completely punched the entirety of this part of his head off. But of course, Dr. Gadaki, what is his name? Gadaki or is it Gyuki? I think it's Darui Gadaki. The doctor that is always with him. He got his body back, and then All For One started building stuff up back for himself. But now we're in the present where All For One has completely lost his mind. He has completely put all sense of caution, precaution, all sense of planning, all senses of maturity and careful thinking. That's all out the window because he intends to kill Bakugo. He intends to get to Tomura, and he intends to implant his factor into Tomura so he can take over his body in one fell swoop by using his ultimate move, All For One Goal, which is to give you a short description, taking every single quirk he has in his body, every quirk he's ever obtained over the entirety of his life, taking this entire quirk, taking every single one of his quirk, and just turning it into just one big, massive bomb that's shooting forward, destroying everything in its path in order to achieve the goal of getting to Tomura and doing what he wants. With even Bakugo going like, some genius I am, how am I supposed to stop that? But let's go ahead and start with chapter 409, Quirk Explosion. And here we have Bakugo's mom and dad the day that Bakugo was born. And Bakugo is crying, he's whining as a baby, his mother's there, having just gone through labor with him. And then we have Bakugo going, I'm gonna make all my skills my own and keep rising. My explosion can pull off anything I wanted to. And then it cuts to him thinking of Midoriya. As we see All For One in this gigantic mass of quirks flying towards Bakugo with, like black lightning and a force field just emanating from him, and he's just disintegrating everything in front of him. Izuku, I won't stand in your way anymore. And then it cuts to All Might going, dodge it, kid! As All For One is channeling all of this power around him. Like he's charging up. Actually, I incorrectly thought that he was charging forward, but he was expanding all of this power all around him into this big, giant mass. Big, giant mass. As it's like waiting for Godzilla to fire his atomic beam from the newer movies, where it's just charging up around him. And then as it goes around him, it then condenses and shoots All For One forward, the wake of which just blows every single building that is in his path just out of the way. It's like watching, there's a video on YouTube of a plane doing like a like a flyby, a very low flyby as it goes over a car, and then you see it fly past, but then you see the dust and all the dirt and wind just kick up right over this car. This is what's happening to All For One, but on a far city-destroying scale. He is moving faster than pretty much anything we've ever seen before, and he's destroying everything in his path. Even All Might got blown back from the shockwave of this. And it cuts to Bakugo, who's just in the path of this as he goes, "Please, blow up. Blow the heck up!" As it cuts to All For One's face, which is, I mean, it looks even worse than it did before. And there's an explosion. There's an explosion that hits All For One directly in the face. I think he blows up. I think he blows up All For One's face. I think he blows up All For One's face. He blew up his face. He blew up All For One's face, and that causes All For One to hit the ground. How can this be? The boy didn't take any clear action just now. The rain's putting a damper on my oomph, so I fired off some clothed beads. Beads of explosive sweat coated with regular sweat, I mean. I shot him off without triggering him, hoping that something else might set him off on a delay. So you mean to tell me that Bakugo is capable of coating his explosive beads of sweat and regular beads of sweat so that when they hit something, they still explode despite being in rain? That's genius. Back there, straight into my mouth? At the last second? If nothing else, I've always earned kudos for my intuition. The one quirk I've got is enough! The more damage he takes, the younger he regresses. Oh wait, and then we cut to a flashback where All Might was speaking to him. The more damage he takes, the younger he regresses. Get the picture? All the damage has thrown my powers into disarray, but I need only to unleash them once more. This is my tale! As All For One is just losing it completely. He's just screaming completely because he cannot comprehend the probability of someone standing in his way and stopping him. He can't piece it together. This might be the loudest IB for chapter 4 of My Hero, given the fact that we got two of the most screamy characters in the series right now. We got Bakugo, who's known for speaking in screams, and we have All For One, who has lost all sense of reason and calm, and he's just screaming everything now. This is my tale! Move aside, you extra! You nobody! And then Bakugo hits All For One once more with Howitzer Impact! And we see Bakugo hit All For One with Howitzer Impact, and we see all the details of All For One gold body. We saw the faces contorting, all the different quirks that are emanating from it, and he hits All For One directly center mass once again. And we see the mass of this explosion as we see All For One's face just flaming and smoking and hit once again with an explosion. And All Might is watching. We see Bakugo, who's flying through the air, and we see a little bit of blood shoot out of him because, you know, he's still kind of injured. And then he goes, "Get wrecked!" as he just completely hits All For One all over his body with explosion after explosion after explosion after explosion. This is Bakugo's Mustang versus Lust moment. This is him just like snapping his fingers over and over, setting fire to All For One over and over, except unlike Mustang, these are causing explosions. It's not just bursts of fire. This is just full-on concussive and burning explosions. And he's just going boom, 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 over. Get wrecked! And shut the heck up! And this is Bakugo saying this all over All For One. He's literally blowing All For One to pieces. All For One goal, you know, this skyscraper-sized massive quirks? Yeah, that's getting blown apart over and over and over. Bakugo's having his 7-page Muda moment. Instead of it being Muda, Nuda! He's just going boom, 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 just over and over. He is not stopping. I told you, Bakugo is by far the worst opponent for All For One because Bakugo doesn't know when to let up. All he knows is just blow this individual to pieces until there's nothing left. Bakugo is in his element right now. Going ham, going hard, just letting loose. I'm proud of you, boy. I'm proud of him! Something's off. My quirk factors aren't mingling properly. How could these mere fireworks be tearing them apart? Because my body's grown too young? Too delicate? All these nasty... Oh my goodness. Bakugo is butchering All For One so much that his quirks can no longer work. I gotta get up! Get up! Get on up! Get up! Get on up! Get up! Get on up! Bakugo! Get on up! Katsuki! Get on up! Kachan! Get on up! Blow them apart! Get on up! I am so happy right now! Let me just stop. I'm sorry. Hopefully I won't get a copyright claim of sounding like James Brown. But man! I love this chapter! I love it! I love it! He's just blowing All For One apart to the point where, wow, that never happened before. He's just blowing apart All For One so vigorously that his quirks can't even work anymore. They're not meshing together. They're not working together. He's just blowing this man apart. Something's off. My quirk factors aren't mingling properly. How could these mere fireworks be tearing them apart? Because my body's grown too young? Too delicate? And then we have voices going all those nasty negative emotions, all those nasty negative emotions have got you in a tailspin, so you're losing control over us. Check it out. This joint is my fan meetup venue now. Swallowed up by Shigaraki, huh? As it's Hawks. Remember, All For One has stated that he has vestiges and memories of the people's quirks, of people whose quirks he's stolen from, who always tend to be in his mind. And the person who's driving his elbow in his side, so to speak, is Hawks. The second to last person he stole a quirk from. The last person was Stain. But we see all the people he's stolen a quirk from, and they're all just looking at All For One, who's by himself as a child in the darkness, as his quirks are no longer working for him. They know he's losing control of all of his quirks as Bakugo is just beating this man down. And then we cut to Bakugo in the present, who has his hand on All For One's face, and he's going, "Get it straight! This is our tale!" And he point blank blasts All For One directly in the face with a titanic explosion with a kaboom! And then it cuts to All Might, who's thinking, little by little, the damage everyone dealt, all that built-up aggravation, at long last, as Bakugo's mom and dad are looking on. And then we have the face of Yoichi in one panel. For certain this time, All For One is... And then we cut back to where All For One has impacted, and he can barely speak as he goes like, Gah! And then Bakugo, whose face is covered in blood because, he's been pushing himself. Oh, I didn't notice. This man pushed his arm to such a degree, I think he actually broke his arm. I think he actually broke his own arm because his arm is swinging away. Wait, am I looking at this wrong? Did Bakugo break his own arm? I think he broke his arm because his arm is swinging away in a way that you normally would not swing your arm. It's swinging almost limp-like. Did he break his own arm with this explosion? But Bakugo is in the air, bloodied, his face entirely incredibly bloodied as he goes, "Yeah, I never could have hoped to beat that. At least not alone." And that's the end of the chapter. And we're going on break after seeing Bakugo body All For One. So I believe when Bakugo is saying, like, yeah, I never could have beat that alone, turns out, I think he's referring to, could he be also referring to all the people who are fighting him from the inside? All the people whose quirks he's stolen? Are they the ones fighting him because they no longer heed his control? This might be the loudest I've ever gotten for a My Hero chapter. I think he just wants one for all, not only for ultimate power, but in a twisted way to meet, or should I say regain, his brother's prized possession. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is, Halster. In gaining one for all, he also gains his brother back, who he sees as his property. That's the reason why he wants it, not just for the power, but because his brother is attached to it, and he wants his brother back. This is like a spirit bomb. All For One's face is blown up from the inside. Yeah, All For One's face blew up from the inside. Also, Michael Malgary, good to see you as well. Hawks rallying the vestiges in the most Hawks way possible. You love to see it. Yeah, it seems so. It's the recoil from the mega powerful explosion, since I don't see the All Might gauntlet on him anymore, which he used as a splint. Yeah, because if you look at the panel where he says, get this straight, this is our tail, the gauntlet that All Might gave him immediately breaks as he blows up All For One's face. It, like, the whole brace just blows up from the force of this explosion. Hold on, I gotta look this chapter up. Hold on. MHA 409. Here we go. Please tell me that you got a synopsis here. They do not. Dang it! Okay. I gotta wait. Later. But let me go to Bakugo and his quirk. I wonder if they got it up for... No, that's Mitsuki Bakugo. I need Bakugo. Oh, I didn't know the name of Bakugo's father. Bakugo's father's name is Masaru. We got Mitsuki and Masaru. Okay, synopsis. Okay, Dark Hero. Final War. Fight with Shigaraki. And they don't even have the most recent chapter up after the last week's chapter. But I honestly think he broke his arm. Who would win in a fight, Bakugo or Deku? Bakugo could have been referring to the vestiges, but I thought he meant all the people stopping and doing all that little bits of chip damage to All For One. That actually seems more likely, because he probably doesn't know anything about what All For One's capable of doing with his quirk or the vestiges within him. So he might be referring to, there's no way I could have done this alone. So he could, like you said, be referring to the people who helped do chip damage to All For One to get him to a point where Bakugo could just blow him up. And this has to be the end. This has to be the end for All For One. All these explosions, Bakugo's explosion quirk are powerful. From the vestiges now on the inside, Tokoyami, Jiro, even Mineta, stopping All For One with his grace for a few seconds to all those that chipped in. And let's not forget all the amount of damage that All Might did to him, even in his, like, Iron Man armor. The orbital laser he inflicted on him, turning All For One into a child. That All Might really went that extra mile to make sure that All For One was in a far worse state. Then we have Bakugo, who is pretty much the worst matchup for, like I said, the worst matchup for All For One, because his quirk is incredibly destructive. And destructive quirks against a body that speeds up in rewinding when it's damaged heavily, that's a far worse matchup. But can we also say something about Bakugo's level of power? He stopped All For One. He used his All For One goal, which is an amalgamation of every single quirk he ever had, and used it as a one big massive propulsion boost to shoot forward, and Bakugo stopped him. The man who gained quirks over 100 years was stopped by Bakugo. Because if I go back and I look at this, and All For One is wondering what happened, All For One, he hits All For One directly in the face with one explosion, and it hits All For One in the face, and it causes All For One to divert into the ground. This very same thing that he said was going to get it. I told you guys last week, if he doesn't make it to Shigaraki, and if they stop him, he's failed. What did I say? If they stop him from getting to Shigaraki and enacting his goal, it's over. I told you that this All For One goal was his last trump card. If he fails, it's over. What did I say? I said this last week. I just said this. And it happened. I didn't mean it in a way for me to predict it, but I'm just saying if it did. Wait a minute. I'm just now realizing that chat isn't off on the side. I'm sorry. You guys have not been over there. Did I not add it? I am so sorry. I forgot to do that. Yeah, I didn't put the right. Wait, did I not put? No, it's the right one, but refresh. Let everyone see all the words. No, I want everyone to see what you guys have been saying. No. Yeah. All right, let's try this again. There we go. There you guys are on the side. I didn't notice until just now. I apologize if your words were not seen until just now. But I wanted to make sure that was completely square. But now that we are, restore chat to the side. CDs, good to see you, man. Oh, great. Now it doesn't even want to show chat off to the side. They're really making this hard for me to give my final thoughts on this chapter, really. But I enjoyed this. What was I talking about? All those little things which felt small in the present, but in the long run, that little chip damage and stalling all add up in the long run. That's why it's not just his tale, it's a tale about everyone. Is All For One someone like Madara? In notoriety, yes. But in power, Madara is stronger. Saw on Twitter your My Hero Season 7 coming out on spring 2024. And you guys have told me that the Solo Leveling's first 2 episodes are premiering tomorrow. So I definitely have to do a reaction to those on top of me reading Fire Force. So Fire Force may be pushed back depending on how long it takes me to edit it. So I'll probably have to push back Fire Force just like maybe an hour or 2, just so I can edit both the first and second episodes of Solo Leveling when it apparently premieres, where the 2 episodes drop tomorrow, but the series starts in January. So I'll take care of that, but conversation for another time. Key difference is everyone worked together to defeat All For One, while in Naruto, Madara is beaten and betrayed by a white Zetsu for the sake of it. While Madara is a lot stronger, this defeat of All For One is significantly more satisfying for me. It is, because from the very beginning, All For One was always the big bad. We had Shigaraki in there. He was a second big bad, but All For One is the big bad of this story. The big bad. It's not even a matter of like Tomura wanting to destroy the world anymore. It's All For One was literally grooming this kid from a young age just so he could be his new vessel. Put him through experimentation, put him in situations where he could possibly fail, only for Tomura to be even more subservient to him, just so All For One could later on take his body with that is new and improved, and also able to shapeshift and move around completely separate from the normal things we know for Quirks to do. His body has gone beyond Quirks, all for the purpose of him gaining that body so he could rule the world even more and just turn the world into a world for his sake and his alone. This is literally his dream. We got this in the second to last chapter where he said he wanted to create a world where everything and everyone in the world was his, served him, was his to do it as he pleased, and the world was his and his alone. That's the whole thing. That's the whole reason why he's been doing all of this. Yet, what he didn't account for was people fighting him. Kind of shocked that if he was going to take his body, why didn't he do it earlier? He wanted a body with enough hate that could overcome the what I think he want hold on. I'm trying to put the words together. There's something that is a specific way I have to say it. He wanted Tomura to be that vessel that would later be more powerful. He wanted to. I have the words. I have the words. It's just piecing them together for the moment. Maybe I need water. Hold on. Give me a sec. Give me a sec. Give me a sec, Michael. Give me a sec. All for One waited until Tomura was stronger, was capable of overcoming his past trauma so he could gain access to Decay and all these different abilities, for his hatred of superheroes and everything good to be so strong that it could forcibly overcome the fact that All for One, that One for All could not be taken away. Do you want to find a way past the One for All rule and take it by force? I think that's what he's been molding All for One Shigaraki for. Not only that, but making it so like here. As a matter of fact, let me just do this. All for One. Let me see. Personality. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. All for One was a patient mentor towards Tomura and often gave him constructive criticism. Let's see. All for One only views Tomura as a mere vessel for himself, revealing that his reasons for raising him was purely for his own gain. All for One exploited Tomura's traumatic memories of his abusive father and groomed his rage so he could use it as a tool to overwhelm the willpower, right here, to overwhelm the willpower of One for All and finally be able to steal the quirk. Because in retrospect, One for All is a quirk that is so strong that it cannot be forcibly taken. Because it's literally the willpower of every single previous user that has been amped up because of the combination of, the stockpiling quirk and the old transferring quirk that Yoichi had. So as an aspect to it, the willpower that allows One for All to operate as it does and everything that goes with it has been empowered over the years to the point where you can't physically take it away. Because the wills of the previous users, grow stronger with every new user. And the willpower and the will of this quirk is so strong that All for One can't forcibly take it, because the will of One for All resists him. So, the process of him grooming Tomura to be this vessel so is that he can be more powerful than the will of One for All. Yes, because One for All has 8 people inside of it, the vestiges of it, of course, and it can't be taken by force because it has so much willpower with it. Exactly as I'm saying. He needed Shigaraki to have loads of malice, plus if he took Shigaraki over without his perfected enhanced body, Shigaraki's body may not have been able to handle all the quirks and stuff. No. The reason why he was grooming Tomura is he wanted to instill in Tomura this idea of hate, so that his hatred would be so much that it could overpower the willpower of One for All. And thus, if his hatred was strong enough, all he needed was the body to contain his original All for One quirk. Because Shigaraki has All for One's original quirk. All for One is operating off of his duplicate right now, even though it's still incredibly strong. But he needed Tomura's body to be physically conditioned, going up against Makia, and going through that experimentation just so Shigaraki's body can even survive having the All for One quirk within him. It was all just to make it so that Tomura's body could be ready for this moment. Had he taken it earlier, he still wouldn't have been able to do it. He wouldn't have been able to take it. So that's how that is. I know I went through like a long-winded way of describing it, but he wouldn't have been able to take it. Definitely gonna watch me react on Solo Leveling. That'll determine if you really want to watch it. Is Deku a bad guy right now? You are probably operating off of what you've seen in the anime CDs. Because I don't know if you've been keeping up with the manga, but you're speaking as if you're speaking of Midoriya during his phase when he was hunting down the members of All for One's group. That's why I was trying to say you explained it better than me. Oh wow, I thought you explained it better than I did. But I guess I just compressed it all from what Michael and what you said. So I just compressed it into a much more condensed sentence. But CDs, if you're talking about Deku being a bad guy of some kind, you must be referring to where the anime was, because Midoriya is not a bad guy, nor has he ever been. So he is not a bad guy. In the manga, he's fighting Shigaraki right now. So that's that fight that's still going on. We are currently about to see the end of All for One. This is the end. This is the end for him. Because not only did he fail to get to Shigaraki, but he also got hit all over his body constantly, over and 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 over again, to the point where his body is just not going to be able to contain itself, and it's just going to keep rewinding. We are witnessing the end. We are witnessing the end of All for One. Not into My Hero Academia, just supporting you and giving you from what I've seen on TikTok. Ah, okay, I see. Well, I'll be more than happy to inform you of where the story is if that's all the information from My Hero you get from. All the information for My Hero you get is from TikTok. I'll be more than happy to, explain what's going on. But Midoriya's not a bad guy, and just as Halster said, you could say he was more so of a kind of a vigilante. More so like a vigilante, but still good at the end of it all. Can't wait to see that fight. The fight between Midoriya and Shigaraki, it should be interesting. I think after All for One is dealt with, I think we're gonna have a breather by having us focus on Aizawa, Mike, and Kurogiri. Here's my thing. I honestly feel like with us being on break, we're about to go on break. I honestly feel that we're just going to see in the next chapter, we're probably going to see either All for One's last moments, or maybe Horikoshi just completely diverges and goes to Aizawa, Mike, and Kurogiri right now. Because it's anyone's guess. You could think that we could just see the end of All for One in the next chapter once we're off from break, and that's the end of it. But it's anyone's guess how we could just diverge. Before we get back to the action, action-packed greatness of Deku versus Shigaraki, that should be an interesting fight, seeing Midoriya actually beat Shigaraki. And mind you, when he said he was going to use Gear Shift, the next time he uses Gear Shift, that's got to be the one move that ends it all. Otherwise, Midoriya is down for the count, and Shigaraki won't have any trouble. Killing him. Whereas Goofy Smile All Might, he's currently heavily injured because he was fighting All for One, but All for One kept coming back, and he almost killed All Might. But Bakugo came back from the brink of death, and he's back and better than ever, and he saved him. I think they should do the end of All for One next chapter, and in the same chapter go to them. It would be nice if they make it like maybe the first 4 panels. Like the first 4 pages. We see the end for All for One. Then we go back. to Midoriya and Shigaraki. I mean, after All for One is gone for good, whether it's next chapter or like 3 chapters from now, I highly doubt All for One's going to last 3 more chapters. This man has been barraged with explosions that should, by all accounts, put him back into even a baby stage, because he's at a little boy stage. Remember, even though I gave him like this crazed, slightly older voice, he's a little boy right now. That's how far All for One has rewinded to. All these hits that he suffered, especially the howitzer impact that he suffered. If I go over to Bakugo and look at his quirk, they still don't have a synopsis or a summary up yet, but it looks like it's expanding, so it's kind of getting there. If I go to Bakugo and his howitzer impact, I think that's one of his better moves. It's howitzer impact. This move is the strongest move in Katsuki's arsenal, which involves Katsuki taking to the air and then using explosions to propel himself in a circular motion to create a tornado. This tornado builds up oxygen to fuel the incoming explosion. After colliding with the target, Katsuki releases the powerful aforementioned explosion. President might compare the effectiveness of the technique to that of an actual missile. Katsuki first uses he can also show that he can release a field explosion in midair without having to make contact with the target. So, this is the strongest move. This is the strongest move that Bakugo has. And he just unleashed it onto All For One, and now All For One is in a far worse state than ever before. All Might essentially paralyzed right now. His arms and legs are done. Wouldn't be surprised if he's in a wheelchair for the rest of his life after this. All Might has had his Might Guy moment, where he's the one who brought the big bad the closest to death. But as a result, he almost dies, but is saved by one of the main characters, and thus lives the rest of his days, comfortably, but without being able to return to life as a hero. So All Might is really having his Might Guy moment here. But good chapter, phenomenal. Out my chair, just screaming how he's just beating down this by far is the best Bakugo chapter. This is the best Bakugo chapter. Bakugo, of all people, going up against one of the most powerful villains to ever exist in this entire series. He is the most powerful villain with Shigaraki right behind him. But then again, Shigaraki's body has ascended, so it's, either or, depending on the day. But this is by far the best Bakugo chapter we've got. Seeing him just go at it with All For One, and All For One just questioning why is this child standing in my way? And yet he has no counter to. I find it funny how, despite all the times that Bakugo has fought him, All For One has failed to have a full counter at all. He's unable to fully defend himself from Bakugo. He can only run away. That's how much of a threat Bakugo is to him. And now we have Bakugo delivering the coup de grace, the piece de resistance, the final blow, the final flash, the Kamehameha, the end of all things, the little final hit on All For One. I'm happy. I'm happy for Bakugo. But I'm droning on again, as I tend to do. I apologize. I have Shigaraki as stronger. Consider Shigaraki's practically untouched. Not even a scratch on him compared to All For One. Yeah, that's the reason why I had to go back. That's the reason why I had to go back and say, both Shigaraki and All For One are powerful. But Shigaraki has a far more powerful body. His body has evolved beyond just needing quirks. Because his body was moving around and being superhuman even when he didn't have access to his quirks. So Shigaraki is in a far stronger state, in a far more powerful state than All For One. That may be exaggeration, but Shigaraki has barely taken any damage. He's been smiling this whole time as he's been fighting Midoriya. He doesn't have any long-lasting wounds that are on him that's causing him to, be debilitated or anything. So Shigaraki's in a far better state than All For One is right now. Obviously, because All For One is regressed. Who knows to what point he's been regressed after being hit by this explosion, this point-blank facial explosion. And if I go back to this panel before I end it here, because I got to end it. Before I end it, it shows him hitting All For One directly in the face with the explosion, and the explosion is actually going through his face. It's not just happening around his face. You see the explosion go through the eye socket, come through the creases of All For One's eyeball, go out of his nose, the explosion is going through the openings in All For One's face in this panel. It's coming out of his eyes, it's coming out of his mouth, it's coming out of his nose. Bakugo is literally blowing this man's face up point blank. So, All For One's done. He's done. All For One's done. I told you guys if he failed to get to Shigaraki, it was over. He failed to get to Shigaraki. It's over. I ain't got nothing else to say. All I know is that today is a great day for these chapters. I can't wait to see what the break is going to give us. Maybe All For One will send Deku a last-minute power to boost him like Vegeta did in Goku in Power Tournament. No, you just saying whatever. You're good, CDS. Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. But I'm done. I'm done with this reaction. The 2 chapters for One Piece, the chapter for One Piece and the chapter for My Hero were both great today, and I enjoyed it. But this was by far the best Bakugo chapter we've got. And I'm happy. I'm happy. But we're going on break, so we're only getting Jujutsu next week. Should be interesting to see where we end up. So I'm done. I'm done. I'm going to kick back and relax, and I'm just waiting on my food to get here. I got some drinks downstairs, so I'm going to drink some of that and maybe find some snacks somewhere. But I'm done, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe longer, but definitely he's been fighting Shigaraki for at least 20 minutes, and Deku has used Gear Shift 2 or 3 times now, and he hasn't found a way to do lasting damage. There's no Jujutsu Kaisen because we're on break today. Jujutsu Kaisen returns next week, and that's going to be the only chapter I do a reaction to because both One Piece and My Hero will be on break. They're going on break right now, so only Jujutsu Kaisen next week for you, CDs. But I'm done, ladies and gentlemen. All I can say, and I got to stop right here, is thank you. Thank you for stopping by. Every single person who stopped by, thank you. It really does mean the world to me, and I have enjoyed doing this. I enjoy doing this for all of you. I said it in my last stream. I'm saying it here, and I'm going to keep saying it. As the days go on, as the channel grows larger, the subscribers get higher, the members become more so, and everything else that comes with this being not only a financially successful channel, but also an immensely satisfying channel as well. I will never stop thanking you. Ever. Because I owe you guys so much. This channel would not be where it is if it weren't for people like you. We YouTubers owe our viewers everything. Because if it wasn't for them, our channels wouldn't be reaching the millions, our views wouldn't be reaching the millions, our videos wouldn't be doing jack as if it weren't for you. So I will always thank you. So thank you. Hope you all enjoyed. Can't wait to see you all in my next video. Like, comment, subscribe, even become a member because I am always looking forward to entertaining you. So have a fantastic day. And once again, as always, later, peoples. Before you leave, man, the Game Awards was a great stream. I enjoyed it a lot. Oh, man, I enjoyed it too. What you mean God of War Ragnarok's about to get a DLC that's dropping on Tuesday that y'all know I'm gonna be playing? What you talking about, man? Not only that, but Black Myth Wukong, August 20th, 2024. Mark it on your calendars because your boy is playing it. Your boy is playing it. I'm happy. 2024 is about to be fun, y'all!